All right.
So good morning. Good morning.
Good.
Welcome everyone to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club for women to have a safe space to share and to inspire each other, learning from a different host each week. And we're very fortunate today to have Suzanne as our guest presenter, who will be sharing her journey as an Asperger woman, her journey from struggle to success to a thriving life. So Suzanne, welcome, and thank you everyone for coming here. And if you could share a little bit about your background and why you choose this topic, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. So I chose this topic because it's something that a lot of us who are women have come to realize later in life that we our operating system always felt different, but we didn't know why. It was the way we interacted with people, interacted with different information, different thought patterns was different, and we never understood why. And I came to learn at the age of 51 that through the help of some people within my organization, that perhaps I was autistic. And I had been searching all my life trying to figure out what was going on with me. Why was I different? Why did I feel different on the inside? It's not just a matter of looking around and saying I'm different. I felt different. My heart would be like trying to figure out why I felt so different from everyone else. Why I thought rules were like had to be followed. Figured why I thought the way I did. And it's so necessary because what's happening now, well, I should back up and say in the 1970s and 80s when I was going to elementary school, autism wasn't known, even with the boys. And then we got to about 1990 when I started having my girls. Autism still wasn't known with the females. We were misdiagnosed, we were underdiagnosed, we were diagnosed as depression, with depression, clinical depression, all these other things. And so they would put us on medication and we still felt like we didn't belong. And that's the biggest part of the whole thing is we never felt like we quite belonged inside the circle. We're always on the outside looking in, trying to figure out how to get in. And the reason the girls were not seen is that we were excellent at observing everybody else in our circle, saying, oh, she likes to put her hair like this. So if I go home and play with my hair like this, then I might fit in. Or she likes to stand up and do this. So we would actually watch how other girls were carrying their bodies, carrying their characteristics, and we would perfect it so that we were missed. Now, my background is I learned how to read very fluently in first grade, very fluently. I was reading fourth grade books in first grade. And that's something that will alert the teachers if someone's not reading, all the physical traits. So she's not reading, she's not behaving in class, she yells out in the middle of the classroom, she gets into fights, she can't pay attention. I was a daydreamer. That was the only thing that they thought maybe. So they put me in the front of the class because I had glasses, thinking that that would solve the problem. It did not. So let me get into my PowerPoint so you can see. Oh, I'm going to have to go in and share
Okay,
one.
let me make you host. This is where I need to make you host.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, your host, Suzanne.
All right, thank you, Minnie. All right, let me get into here and share my screen. One of the interesting things is I love doing PowerPoints. It helps me explain. Oh, Faith is coming in. We'll let her in. Let me go up to my slideshow. Start from the beginning. There we go. The journey to understanding Asperger syndrome. And I call it a journey because I've been looking all my life trying to figure out what makes me different. And one of the things that I found in my working with what's going on in my life right now is I was the only one on the journey in my family. I was the only one on that journey. I would go and ask my mom to help me, and she would fight it. And so this is why we need to educate so many more people about what it's all about, because there are a lot of us who feel alone, even within our own families, because no one sees us on the physical outside. We look like we're normal people, and we are. There's no disability, but we do think differently. So it is a road. It's not a complete path yet. We're still working on getting to the understanding and building a bridge. Along this journey, there has to be a bridge that will help people who are not on the spectrum cross over and say, be our defenders per se, and say, no, I like that idea. I think that's a great idea. Or, you have so many traits, don't worry about that. Because we're still very unsure of ourselves. Looking in the rearview mirror, as I said earlier, we, although when a woman gets a later diagnosis, it doesn't mean that she is all of a sudden finding out she's different. We have felt this. We've felt this difference. We just didn't know what it was called for so long. We remember what it was like being the last picked off the bench for gym class. We know what it was like when the girls didn't invite us to the birthday parties and this and everything else. So we knew all of our experiences, but we didn't know what it was called. And this is why girls were not seen as being part of the spectrum, because we would watch so intently to see what other girls were doing so we could get into that group. The boys didn't care. They're like, take me as I am. I am who I am. But the girls so wanted to be part of the social group because it was expected that they would go and try and model what everyone else was doing, to the point of going home and rehearsing it at home to come back to school the next day to try out our new practice. Here are some of the positives and negatives of being Aspie. Now, I'm not going to read all of these, but as I said, we were misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. That's one of the big things. We have a high incidence of depression because we're underemployed. That's the big thing that I still am working on. I have gone to interviews and jobs that would be right in my real house. I'm competing with someone who's not Aspie, and whether I tell them or not, it's still seen. Somehow it's still seen. And I think the reason it's seen is I answer questions literally. You ask me what something is, I will tell you the literal answer to it. I won't say, well, the business wants me to answer it this way. So it's just, we're so nervous about the interview. We'll go in, we'll answer every question honestly instead of saying, okay, how does the business want it? There are some positives I have to point out. Like, for instance, the grocery store, we have a photo, well, at least I have a photographic memory of every grocery store I go into. So when I used to send my husband at the time to the grocery store, I would put the list according to aisle. And then when he said he couldn't find it, I would say, look about your knees, about halfway over, third section down, there it is. You'd be like, okay. So we have a photographic memory of a lot of things. I have a photographic memory of many, many, many events in my life that took place. And I could feel like my memory could go backward as well as it could go forward, which is very good in many cases because you can have a close recall. But in some cases, it's bad because if it was a negative situation, you kind of ruminate on it, which we have to work on. There are times I will go into I will drive into a town and I can feel the energy of the town without knowing anything about it. And so when I go to look at places to live, I'm like, no, that town doesn't feel right to me. It's interesting how we can really get to know, but the biggest thing is that we need people to understand that we're humans. We're going to have some differences. We're going to have a lot of positivities. But if we're only seen for the disabilities, then people are not going to accept us. We need to be seen for all the positives that we can offer. And here's all the positives that I put in there. One of the big things is I can see an accident before it's going to happen and solve the problem. And people aren't even seeing it, which is always like, you don't see that? I don't know why. Let's go on. Who am I? Well, here I am. I'm not afraid to get up on stage. I'm not afraid to talk, which is very unusual for many Aspies. And I think the reason is because I didn't know I was Aspie until I was 51. So I was always writing and thinking, and I just got this comfort level of talking to people and feeling comfortable, which is not unusual. For me, I mean, I just felt very comfortable. But I live by a set of rules in my family whereby it's the college you go to, it's what you achieve in grades in school that determine how successful you're going to be. And I would like to see women, no matter what school they go to, no matter what trade school they go to, seen as positive. I wore what is called a mask, which I'm going to take you to the next screen. Masks are the persona you put on in order for others to really accept you. I would go into work, and if I knew that I was having a hard day at home, I would put on this mask and I would really try and blend in with others so that they would accept me. Now, masks are not healthy because you're not authentic. I mean, it's pretty common that you're not going to be as authentic if you're wearing a mask. But at the same time, it would help me defer some of the more challenging confrontations that others would try and get into. And I would just be able to keep going at my work and not let others' words interact me so that I can stay on the job. Many Aspies who refuse to mask are often fired from jobs because they will say and react to stimuli much sooner than most women will react to it, which is very hard for all of us to keep employment many times, because if we don't wear masks, then we're easily the targets of being fired. Masking can deny communities and the opportunity to accept people. All right, the Aspie woman and her keen sense of visualization and memory does not need a therapist to rehash the past. So this is talking about how a coach can help her see her future, instead of having her go to a therapist and keep bringing up all of those past memories I was talking about that tend to pull her down into the depression. So a therapist is not quite the right answer for a woman who's an Aspie. She needs someone who is going to partner along with her and encourage her to keep taking those strengths to the positive, to the brighter future. And when we have someone who validates our experiences and sees that we have strengths, they'll be the ones that are the bridge for us to go and create better things in our lives. It's when we're left alone and then we come up against someone who's invalidating that takes us down the opposite road. Let's see. Yes, we should reach the goal to bring out the special skills. Yes, with great patience and understanding, she can see the issues before the problems occur. We're supposed to be great problem solvers when given the chance to help an organization solve the problem, if we can get that far. And this is what I would love to help women realize, is that I believe in them, others believe in them, and that's where we need the most help. I guess Amy can bring Amy in. That's where we need to create the partnership, is helping people come in and see our strengths so that they can help power us up and keep us going. Building employment bridges. This is a big one.
Hi, Amy, can you mute yourself? Sorry.
No worries. I had a feeling that's what it was.
I could hear the noise. Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, Suzanne. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. Building employment bridges, as I was talking about, this is the biggest hurdle that we really need to build the bridges on. And I'm still working on enriching my life at this point. I'm becoming I have become a coach to help other women realize that they have the capabilities. They don't have to subject themselves to getting disability, because we're not disabled. We just think differently. We really are able to do all the same work in many cases as everybody else. We're just thought of differently during the interview process. So what we really need to do is the Aspie woman will not get out from under the parental or government financial assistance while earning a retail or janitorial income. I have to say, for me, it's kind of hard when you have to rely on someone else to get you into an apartment complex because they require 3 times your income. But if we're not going to build a bridge for these women to get into higher level jobs, that's all the work that they can get. We need to help pull them up by being the part of the bridge that says, no, I think this person has some great ideas. Let's help her get into this position, because I've heard some of the ideas she has. She's very creative. Instead of keeping us at the retail or janitorial level, most places require you to have 3 times the income. We all know that retail doesn't provide 3 times the income. So she'll still be living at the poverty line or low, and will struggle to rent an apartment or home. In many cases, this is what causes the depression at my age and older, is we're continuously told, I'm sorry, you do not earn enough money. And we're looking at it to say, but I am capable of earning money. I'm just not chosen for the work. And that's where we can really help each other to pull in the bright minds that can see the problems and those who will do the job. I'm never out sick. I go to work and I'm never called out. So we have a loyalty to our jobs because we appreciate it. We really want to be there. Social and emotional health activities will continue to be outside our budget. So we're not living the enriched life if we're not able to get the job that we're capable of doing. So what I would really like to do is, after I help the woman create her strengths, her confidence, her ability to know that she is not on the outside of life looking in, she's actually in life, we can then help her, if she already has a family, get her family to understand her better so that they understand what triggers her, the sensory issues, such as putting on the loud music and putting on the lights and everything. When we can get the whole family to get to know what her needs are, then that's going to create a stronger family. Then what I'm able to do is help the woman and her family come to an enrichment center to really work together on activities that will fortify the whole family, versus mom being on the outside again of a family that she's creating. And this is in my enrichment center that I would love to build down the road, so that I can bring the family in, and while they're having activities, I'm also listening to how the family is communicating, making sure that everyone in the family is valued. Going back just slightly, this is when the mom realizes that maybe 1 or 2 of her children have been diagnosed, and the doctor's saying, well, what about you? all of a sudden her life starts to look so much clearer, because now she's seeing her child being diagnosed, and now she's understanding just exactly where all those traits have come from, because it is a hereditary condition that can be passed down from one generation to the next. It's not a negative generational problem, but it is one that just requires a little extra sensitivity in how you speak and how you conduct yourself around the home. And that is the end. I'm going to stop sharing now so everybody can ask questions. And
That's
Vinny, do
that's
you want to
awesome.
take it back?
Yes, I was gonna say that that's really awesome, Suzanne, that you're sharing this. I have friends who had a AD, what is it?
ADHD?
ADHD, kind of a similar thing, especially the one that is more severe. It's almost like it's a spectrum that very often it's not recognized. It's all kind of the same family, but yet some are very, very mild, some are more, and they don't, if it's not diagnosed, it's like people see them as being aggressive, you know, that they fight, they get angry very quickly, they get
Mm-hmm.
depressed, they cannot communicate properly, and all kinds of
Exactly.
issues like that. And this is awesome. You guys, do you have any feedback for Suzanne or any questions or anything?
I want to say that I really enjoyed the PowerPoint.
Thank you. Thank
That is
you.
that is really well done, Suzanne. Yeah. And
Thank you.
and getting to know what your plans are with the enrichment center. That is beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been in my dreams since 2018, and I walked into the Dream Builder program and opened up I had given Mary a book of my entire dream, and this is during the Dream Builder program. I gave her a copy of my entire dream, and she's looking at it like with the clarity of it. And this is one of the things that I talked about with it being, we can see things visually even before it takes place. She's looking at my dream and she's like, it's already in full clarity. And it's only Friday lunchtime. How is it that you have full clarity of Friday at lunchtime when a lot of people don't even know what their dream is to begin with? And it's just the way my brain works forward and backwards very easily. I can go into forward memory, I can go into backward memory.
And I think each of us have our own disability or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
It may not be something that necessarily has a name to be diagnosed, but we all have our own shortcomings, regardless. So I think it's kind of enlightening to hear you speak to it and the challenges that we're not aware of. Like you said, as employer, or anybody, even just your friend or family members, don't understand that and how to, I remember my friend with this ADHD problem. He wasn't diagnosed until he was in his 50s too, and he said, I wish I would have known, because then I could have taken my medication, or I could have, I know how to deal, like when something that triggered, there's like trigger points where he get really upset or uptight, that it would be really helpful if he would have known that's what it was.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Omeka, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Suzanne, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say the only difference, the high functioning autism and ADHD are almost cousins of each other. The only difference is that we have a sensitivity to the five senses. Noise, it feels like when they talk about, it feels like pressure. When I have music that is not the right volume, I feel like it's a ton of bricks coming at my face. It's not just music. It feels like a weight coming at me. And then strobe lights really drive my eyes crazy. And then that's the lighting. but at the same time, it's the dim light. Going into a pub with loud music and a dark room drives my senses crazy because I can't regulate. But put me at a beach bar outside where the sunshine is and music, I'm a totally different person. And the only thing there is that I can get away from the music as far away as I need it, and it's a constant light. I can regulate because I can put on the sunglasses that I require. You can't do that in some of these other places. You can't put on light glasses in a dark place. So go ahead.
Wow. Yeah. And excuse me for interrupting. I was walking the dog and there's tar in the streets, and they were telling me that the tar was really hot and not to go there. So I had to switch gears. So the whole time, yeah, the PowerPoint was great, even though I couldn't see a lot of it, half of it, but because I was walking. But the part I did see, that was amazing. I'm totally inspired. The whole time you were talking, I was like, I wasn't really looking for it, but in my mind, I was like, she's got lots of talents, and she's opened her, I would just say herself, your senses. I mean, you talked about many different ways that you are different. We're all different. Then, and to me, it was like, I'm different than normal people. And you might not even use the word normal, but I just kept hearing this. I'm like, child, you are like a genius, it's like a genius level of, because you're not, even though you say you at one point or even now, you want to follow directions to the T and you want to do everything somebody says, and some of those things people, yeah, it's like remembering I was like, yeah, those are some other qualities that people, I can't say they can't, they're not tapping into because they're head centers. There's a lot of them. There's a lot going on with our auras, with our past, or that people are, it's calcified, it's just locked because they don't access it. And we all can, but like not accessing the different levels of existence and the different energy centers in our bodies allows us to be kind of more robotic and not tune into our intuition. And you have really, it seems like, tapped into the different things that I just loved it. It was just a really nice flow. The things that trigger you, the things that, like, people don't even take a look at their lives like that a lot. It's just like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna have my coffee, I'm gonna take the kids to school, and there's really no thinking or no feeling, but not a lot. And then people get frustrated, they don't know why, but you seem to be very in touch with who you are and how you're creating your world. And it was really good. And then I was getting ready to go somewhere else when my mother sat in the driver's seat all of a sudden. So I was like, oh my God. I had to pull her out because I was like, there's no way you need to, because thank God she don't remember how to turn the car on. It's one of them push button cars.
Oh boy.
So it was for me to be here. I'm glad I really wanted to take her out, but I'm really glad I was here. So thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. I've been told that I'm very perceptive, and my internal introspection has been on full diagnosis from, I would say, fourth grade on. I have been fully introspective. Okay, what's she doing? How can I be like that? The self-awareness has been one of my strongest traits, which means that I can also look at your perspective and say, I see your valid point. And we were talking at the beginning, I said, this is where I would get so much into scammers, because I could see the good in it. I could see how it could be something I could do, but I didn't realize that it was talk so that I would respond in the way I did. And I turned out to be scammed because I believed in them. And that we have a very high belief system. Go ahead, Amy.
So sorry I was late today. I was so looking forward to seeing your presentation, and I just want to tell you, like, the way that you laid everything out, and it just looks so professional, and it's beautiful. So you did an amazing job, absolutely. And I just, from the time that I first met you up until now, just like the growth that I've seen in you, and just seeing you, become more confident in yourself and what you're doing. And it's just been really amazing. So I just want to thank you for bringing this awareness to us all. I was diagnosed with ADHD a couple years ago, and it was kind of always a thing growing up, that I was scatterbrained or whatever, or, couldn't pay attention, or a daydreamer or whatever. And people saying like, oh, you have ADD. And I'm like, what's that? And it kind of became like a joke almost, like, oh, you have ADD, And in my experience, I did, get diagnosed with this questionnaire, and I did try medication for, I think, maybe 9 or 10 months. I started with Adderall, and I don't know if like there's any medications they recommend for you and everything. And I think personally, I think you're better off that way.
Yeah.
Because the situation that I had was, if you actually do have ADHD, your brain reacts differently to stimulants, and people don't realize that, with like the Adderall, and people get addicted to it, whatever. But I believe the people that are getting addicted to it do not have ADHD, because when I first got prescribed, they actually prescribed me a dose that was too low, and it literally put me to sleep. So a stimulant put me to sleep.
Yeah.
So that just kind of showed me like, okay, I guess I kind of have this, what they call neurotypical brain or whatever. But I know that for me this past year, like meditation and affirmations and kind of like making myself have to focus on things has helped me be able to focus on things. So it's like I don't like this attitude when they like, oh, you're diagnosed with this, like throwing their hands in the air, like, oh, that's what you have. You can't do anything about it. But you and I know with Mary and with BTI and coaching, like we can overcome anything. We just have
Anything.
to
Yeah.
be consistent. So
No,
thank
that's
you so
it.
much for this beautiful presentation, Suzanne. Very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that is the importance in any of these organizations, why Partners in Believing is so important. From the standpoint that if I can help you with a trait that, and you can help me, then we're coming together. We're building the bridge, is what I like to call it. And so many people are like, no, you're different. Stay over there. And we need so many more people who are bridge builders that will come together and say, I see the value in you. And I want to support that. Will you see the power in me and help me support that? Because lonely, all by ourselves, it's not possible. But when you find bridge builders, then everything is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, like Mary says, right? We're all as unique as our thumbprint. So we're all different, you know what I'm saying? So that added, but I know what you're saying, that attitude people have, like, oh, you don't fit the little cookie cutter,
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, Val.
I wanted to add on Amy's comments of when we have the will to do it. I was just actually recently reconnecting with longtime friends of mine, and we had some differences last year. I was going through my things, and I'm like, well, I don't feel your support, and I'm not doing that well. So it's better that I stay away from you for a little while. Do And for whatever reason, she connected with me again. And I saw myself writing to her, where there is a heart, there is a will. And so, because she said, well, can we continue, having conversation like we used to, because we definitely can stay on and on conversation. She's very versed on lots of things. And so she's an interesting woman. And so I felt, my heart is always open. I just don't hold grievances or anything. My heart is always open. So when someone come back to me and say, okay, I would love to have, again, a relationship with you, it makes me feel good because I opened up my heart. And so, although I was the one who picked up the phone, because it wasn't just, there's so much text these days that we can hide behind. And I'm like, well, let's pick up the phone and see where she's at, And so the will to do it and the love to do it, or maybe vice versa, the love to do it and the will to do it, then we can do anything for sure.
And that's exactly it. And I think it requires both sides of the partnership to do that. And as Amy knows, I've been dealing with family members that are not willing to build my bridge. And you would think that in a family, and this is why the enrichment center is so important for future generations, if only the family had known that I had these needs and I wasn't being a pain in the neck with my extra needs, then we could have such a better relationship, understanding each other. And this is so much why I'm so passionate about this as a woman herself, and then as a mom who's now having children. My older daughter has ADHD, and we've always been in sync. And my younger daughter's like, you've always been closer to Alexis. I said, I'm not closer to her. I treat you equally. I understand her and her needs, but her needs are different than your needs. And when your needs come up, I handle your needs. And it's all about individuals seeing where they can raise up the other person. And I've been talking about, I've had to let my mom go a little bit, because every time I would go to her with a pain, it felt more like injury, adding insult to injury. And I'm like, no, that's not the kind of person I need in my life. As you were saying, Val, I need someone who's going to be that soft place to land and help me work above it, not, well, maybe society is like that. I'm like, no, that you need to provide safe places for each other to land, but at the same time, have your boundaries. And when someone doesn't want to adhere to your boundaries or communicate, that's not a relationship that can go on one-sided. As you know, Val, it has to be a two-sided relationship. It cannot be one. Can I answer any other questions for anybody? Go ahead, Jane.
Hey, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for this presentation. Gee, do we ever need enlightenment? And
Oh, we lost you. Jane, we can't hear you for some reason. Uh-oh.
We can't hear you, Jane. Jane, we can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh,
No, you're going along and I want to hear what you're saying.
Oh, no. Was it going in and out, or was it?
It's good now. It's good now. I think
Okay.
it's probably the distance.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So up close and personal here. Through that mic. Yeah, so I was curious, is Asperger something that science has detected in a part of the brain that either in its content looks different, or chemically? Is there any information on that?
There is a lot of information. Temple Grandin went into it in depth in some of her YouTubes on how the brain looks different than other neurotypical brains. It's a just change in color of the neurons getting stronger in some areas and weaker in other areas. So yeah, there is, I don't know as much about the science of it, but there is a difference in there.
Okay. Right. That's understandable. And it's, I'm often reminded and find myself bringing up in conversations from time to time the difference between a man and a woman's brain, especially at the base of our brains. Women, we have a connected and a connective tissue that links the left and the right brain, and men don't. And it's like, there you have it.
Yeah.
It's all about finding our way back to one another.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. We are all humans. We're and on that one page where I was showing you with me standing up in front of the whole group, I did this little sermon and I said there was no plan for people to be disabled. Never in God's plan were people supposed to be disabled. Different abled, different capabilities. We're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be different because there are so many different people that are out there in our world that we need to help. I mean, we're all the same people. We only need a handful of coaches doing the same thing, but we're all different, and it's meant to be such that our brains are different, our passions are different, our understanding is different because we need to be able to help everybody else. And I think it starts with communication. So many people need to learn that we can't talk off the top of our heads anymore. We're going to take the breath, assess whether or not what you're saying is going to hurt the other person before you even make a sound. And so many people don't care. It's like, I have this important thing to say, so I'm going to say it right now. Okay, you need to go and change your clothing because it's not appropriate. Wait a minute. That's your style. You're presenting your personality through your clothing. I don't have a right to say that to you. And so many times I started out as a coach going after positive, supportive communication until I got courageous enough to actually go after and help the Aspie woman. Because my first mission was actually to change the way people talk to each other. I found it to be very rude and very personalized to what you thought was right over what I was doing. And it's like, no, you have a right to your expression. I have a right to my expression, whether it be thoughts, clothes, or whatever. Doesn't mean it's right, but you have your opinion and I have my opinion. And it's that old adage I love, which is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. You're allowed to have your opinions. You are. Every single person is allowed to have their opinions. But if you don't take that breath and say, will this thought hurt the other person? It will. Okay, I'm not going to say it. However, I can say to you, Jane, do you know that your button is undone? If you turn it into a question instead of making a statement, it doesn't come off as being an attack. Jane, did you know you have a rip in your shoulder? Now you don't feel attacked. Oh, oops. Okay. It's all about changing the way you do it. The last thing in my positive communication is, how many times have any of you come across this? You know what? Really? We're going to go to the mall next week, okay? Would you like to go? And we'll go out and go shopping, and we'll go out and have something to eat. Then next week comes, I come back and I tell you about the shopping trip. Oh, I was supposed to go with you. The follow through isn't there. People will say empty words to make you feel good, and then they don't follow through. And so we need to be aware. And from that positive communication, it led into, wait, that's the way I feel. That's the way I need things to be. Let me get more into how I want to help other women. So.
I just thought of something else too. I wanted to say that I think if we really look back and we look at our history as people, if we look at who we were as a child, as a 2, 3, and 4-year-old, there's a real clue to who we are if we go back to that child, because even as a group, children who are 3, 4, and 5 are super unique. They are truly individualistic. But what happens is you get to be 6, 7, and 8, and then you start to blend. You start to have such a need to belong and not to stand out as being different. Case in point, if you were to join 12, let's say 3, 4, and 5-year-olds and said, hey, which one of you thinks that they can run a half a mile the fastest? Who's the fastest here? They would all raise their hands, right? But if you ask 7, 8, 9-year-olds, who do you think out of all of you would run the fastest? They'd look around, because you know why? They would have already sized up their group. Oh, she's faster than me. She's better than me. He's better. And off we go into the teenage years, into adulthood, and it's like, well, aren't we a lovely mess? You know, because we forgot our way, we lost our way, we forgot our individuality, we forgot to celebrate that. And Suzanne, I feel that, and I guess we all do, I'm probably speaking for everyone, that you are put on this earth in such a lovely way to work your bit of magic, and as a reminder, and just to do what you do best. And I think we need to get back to, and what I love about being part of our group and our network as a whole is just we get so close to honoring that, don't we?
We do. Oh, I love it. I don't miss any of these because of that reason. I feel so welcome, and it doesn't matter who I am. I feel so welcomed in all of these groups that I belong to, and it's just like, why can't the rest of the world see this value?
Oh, it's so there.
Yes.
So beautiful. So what a great sharing. Loveline, I see your hand. Go ahead, Loveline.
I just wanted to ask Suzanne whether she's a coach, but she just mentioned it. And I can only commend you for your presentation. I really, really loved it. And the fact that you mentioned that people who are autistic, especially women, are treated differently from men, and whereas they all have the same abilities. And I think if you can put yourself out there, there's so many people who are suffering, because I know that society tends to socially exclude autistic people and just push them on the side and say, oh, well, you're like this, so you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't have this ability. So if you can put yourself out there, I think many people will be helped by you, because I know many people are suffering as a result of the label that has been placed on them, that you are this, you are that, you can't do this, you have no ability to do this because of who you are. And I think you being a coach, and if you can market yourself more, like you said, I think many people will flock to you for help. And I think it's a really, really, really good thing. Great presentation, very educative, very informative, very colorful. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a Facebook page called Enriching the Aspie Woman's Lifestyle, where I put in a lot of these different, I call them my vulnerabilities that I've turned into a lesson. And all my posts have to do with something that's occurring in my life, but I know that others are dealing with it. So blending the vulnerability with the lesson, people can really get to understand where we're coming from and what our needs are. And what I ask as an ending statement is, if you can all be bridge builders for anyone that you come up against who's a autistic, especially in the employment region, because we just need to have the chance to get into these jobs so that we can live independently. It's sad at 54 that I need my mother to co-sign for an apartment because I'm able to do the work, but people don't see that. But if we have more bridge builders saying, I think you should hire her because she has the ideas that some of us may not have. And that's where the ending statement is. I just think if we can be bridge builders for these autistic women, they're going to be able to live just fine without government assistance, without parental assistance. And they'll be more confident in themselves. But thank you so much, Levine. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. We only have 3 minutes left, but I just want to thank you, Suzanne. I think your presentation just bring great awareness to all of us. And the truth is, all of us are just, we are different. We're different, but yet we're the same, you know. We're the children of God, and we're all equal, but yet we're different, and we have even our personality or anything, you know, may not be as, you know, have the label of whatever it is, autism or whatever, but we really, each of us, we have our strength and weaknesses, and we have to kind of capitalize on the positive, you know, like a lot of the things that you presented. You have so many positive traits that probably many of us don't have. So if we just kind of be surrounding ourselves with people who are supporting us and to take advantage of the strength rather than focusing on the deficits in each individual, you know, that would be just amazing. Any other last minute thoughts before we part here? Anyone want to make the last comment? I see Val is trying to unmute. Oh, I see Omeka. Go ahead, Omeka.
I just wanted to make one thing. I just, since we live in our own little apartments, we have our own little cars, and we're not, the sense of community hasn't been really around. We used to live with 4 and 5 generations. Now we just live in our own little, so losing that and not being really interdependent upon each other, to me, has kind of helped in people judging one another and not valuing each other's talents and gifts. And so building bridges and building community in the ways that we can, online or however, in our communities, like where we live or however, is really vital. So thank you for constantly saying that, Suzanne.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Val, I see you trying to unmute.
Oh, I just have a little request, since we're a community of women helping each other and all that. And if we can, you know, think about, this morning, my mom called me from France, and my sister is really not doing well at all. If we can have a little, you know, 1 second prayer for my sister, because I know that when we are together, it brings more awareness and where she will feel maybe the urgency of what she needs to do to overcome what she's going through. So thank you, ladies, for listening to my little request here. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Val, if you want to lead us in a prayer or something.
Oh, well, dear God, I want to thank you that I am with a group of women here who are so aware of the interconnection that we have between each other. We can heal each other thanks to your spirit, thanks to the goodness, the kindness, the compassion, the understanding that we have for each other. And let's extend that to my sister Isabel. And thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be together and speak those words that for my request. And as we ask, so we will receive. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. This has been an amazing time, and thank you for your great share, and thank you, Suzanne, for this amazing awareness building for all of us. Until next week, I hope you guys have a fabulous week, remaining week and weekend as well. See you guys next week. Bye-bye all.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Have a great day.
Yeah.
All right, blessed day. All right, thanks everyone.